Let's bring in Strategas Chairman and CEO Jason Trennert. I've known you a very long time. So Kamala Harris, I'm going to change that. Ed said, good to see you, by the way. Edward said, could not say whether Americans are better off than they were when she and Biden took office. No, she would not, because she cannot say that, because they are worse off. And you've done some recent research on that.
Yeah, I mean, we've just looked at, the thing that's important to remember about inflation is that it's cumulative, which means that even if the rate goes down, prices don't go down. So what we've done is we've looked at real wages on a cumulative basis, which is we've looked at people's wages versus the increase in prices. And what you found is that in the Trump years, people's standard of living improved. People got richer by about 3%. During the Biden years, they've gotten poorer. Prices have exceeded wages by at least 4%, and based on another configuration of inflation that we use, by as much as 5%. So they cannot say that, because people's standard of living has declined. Their dollars go a lot less far than they used to.
On the topic of are you better off or not, Eric Swalwell channeling the love he once had for Fang Fang into campaigning for Kamala Harris and her economic policy. Watch this.
Okay, all right. They're going to ask the fairest questions, the kindest questions. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be professional. You're always professional.
My question is a Harris presidency basically going to be Joe Biden's second term?
Yeah, well, we are definitely better off than we were 4 years ago, because 4 years ago we were in COVID. Donald Trump was telling us to ingest God knows what. The economy was tanking. People were unemployed. Kamala Harris is going to put more money in pockets so you can find first-time homeowners in every neighborhood in America.
Do you think she needs to explain every policy reversal that she's had in the past few weeks?
Kamala Harris is going to be driven by her values, which is the exact opposite of Donald Trump, who couldn't articulate his values at that debate. He looked scared. He's almost 80. He looked like he was 180. His shoulders were caving in. He wouldn't make eye contact with her. He doesn't have a plan. He's not going to tell us what his plan is. He said he has a concept of a plan. That woman has a plan. She has a vision. She's on a mission.
All right, Jason, I'm not going to comment on the Don Johnson look
on
Congress.
Him.
Yes.
Good.
However, listen, I appreciate what he's saying in the sense that he thinks that we're better off than we were under 4 years of Donald Trump. And I think that's refreshing, right? The fact that they think we're better off and that Kamala's not going to change course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you come to that conclusion. I just talked about economically, it would be impossible to prove given the data that we have. I also, I just wonder when I watch these debates whether David Muir or any of these people like take the subway or go grocery shopping, or just, you know, they're telling you not to believe what you're seeing with your own eyes. And my office is directly across from the Roosevelt Hotel, okay, which is home to 3,000 newcomers, okay? And it's impossible to see the sympathy for either these poor people that are coming over or the taxpayer or the local businessman. So I don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry, I'm going off the topic of economics, which is my bailiwick, but I run around this town. I've lived in New York City for 34 years. There is no question that the quality of life in this town has deteriorated, and has deteriorated directly because of the policies of the Biden-Harris administration. Open borders, runaway spending, higher inflation. It's just a worse place to live. And I would say that's true in many towns across the United States.
And I want to move on to this, but Harris and Biden have added to the debt almost $8 trillion. We came in today $1.9 trillion in deficit spending in the 11 months of this fiscal year. And what in the hell have we gotten for it? Real quick before we move on.
Listen, we're running budget deficits right now that are about 7% of GDP. We have never done that when we weren't at war or weren't in recession. We've actually never done that when the unemployment rate was below 7%. So we're spending money. No wonder we didn't have a recession last year. We've been spending money as if we were in a recession. And God forbid that were ever to happen. The deficit would blow out further, because you would be spending on the stabilizers like unemployment insurance and food stamps and all the other things. So this is extraordinarily irresponsible. at some point, the bill will come due in the form of higher interest rates and, in my opinion, another wave of inflation.
Right, malaise, the people have felt it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's go to this because for the first time in a decade, the cost of rent and utilities, it rose faster than home values from 2011 to 2019. Real rent rose less than 3% every year. Contrast that with 2020 to 2023, which is the Biden-Kamala years, rent rising 3.8%. And nearly half of America's 42.5 million renters spent more than 30% of their income on housing. And to the Census Bureau, that makes them cost burdened. And that burden's falling on minorities the hardest. 56% of black households that rent were cost burdened, along with 53% of Hispanic households were also cost burdened. And so, Jason, I think this goes to the point, why are Democrats losing black and Hispanic voters? Well, right here, over 30% of their incomes are just going to rent and utilities. They can't afford this economy.
Oh, I agree. And I think, again, you have to bring in unrestricted immigration and open borders, right? You've let in another 20 million people. So you've increased the demand for housing by 20 million people. It's not surprising that the price of housing is going up, right? So it's not only necessarily people that are buying homes yet. That will happen eventually, where they'll start to, unless President Trump is elected. But it's not surprising. It's hurting the communities that the Democrats supposedly are supposed to champion. These policies are directly hurting them. The spending, going back to what Dagan was saying before, you combine open borders along with runaway deficit spending. Deficit is always a tax, most on the poor. Wealthy people can hedge it. You can buy financial assets. You can investment banks will sell you all sorts of things to hedge your inflation exposure. The average person gets it right between the eyes in terms of inflation, and they feel it most especially. And I think it's being reflected in the polls that we're seeing, which is to say that I think Trump is going to win this thing going away, and Biden, I think Kamala has to be up 3 or 4 points in the national polls to win, and we are not seeing that right now.
And just really quickly before you go, it's something I talk about all the time, and it's what you can't see when the government borrows so much money and runs such giant deficits, particularly in peacetime. You are borrowing something and taking something away for the moronic pursuits of those in government, and you are depriving the private sector from money to be spent on smart endeavors and innovation. Yep. And ultimately, that is the downward spiral of a nation.
Amen. Right now, we're even so it's crowding, a term from the 70s, crowding out, which is to say the government has such a big position at the trough that it crowds out other people that want to borrow. Right now, we're spending more on our interest expense than we are on defense. We're going to be spending more on interest expense than we are on Medicare next year. So it's also going to crowd out, even if you're a big government spender, it's going to crowd out other government spending. To say nothing of the private sector, which has to compete and borrow at decent rates to make it worth their while. And in my opinion, higher long-term interest rates are very likely if we don't change our ways on spending.
It's a death spiral. Jason Trennert, thanks for being with us.
Great to see you.
Great to have me. Thank you.